Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Walk the Talk as we resume our wonderful conversation with Javed Akhtar Saab. Javed Akhtar Saab, you rediscover poetry, you go back to poetry, you go back to your roots.
Well, I come from a family...
And completely reinvent yourself. From a storyteller now to a poet and lyricist.
Yeah. You know, there is a saying...
And then an activist, we'll talk about that.
There is a saying in Persian, Pidram Sultan Bood. My father is a king, so one should not indulge in that, but allow me to be a little immodest and tell you that I come from a family of writers, poets,
Right.
and my last 7 generations.
You were in fact named after a character from one of your father's poems.
That's another story, I'll tell you about it. So, I'm the 7th generation, Farhan and Zoya the 8th,
Right.
of writers.
Right.
And they were poets, and not only closet poets or poets who had poetry like a hobby, but they respected known poets who are mentioned in any respectable anthology.
Right.
So perhaps it was inevitable, because by the time I was 12 or 13, I remember hundreds of couplets by heart. By the time I was 15 or 16, thousands. I can today...
And you worked with Kamal Amrohi,
recite,
around whom there was poetry all the time.
Well, it all had happened much before that.
Right.
So I won't give him the credit. I can recite other people's poetry for 7-8 hours to you without stopping. I remember so much of poetry, of classical poets, of progressive writers, of modern poets, and so on.
You have a favorite from Kafi Saab's poetry?
Well, I have favorites from all the progressive writers, and they have influenced me.
तो Kafi Saab पे recite कीजिए कुछ जो आपको haunt करता है.
Okay, I will. Let me complete this point, then I'll do that. So, by the time I was 18, 19 years old, I was aware that I can write poetry. And some of my friends who were in college had started writing poetry. So I would suggest a line to them, or make a change in their line. So it should be like this. Or there you are going out of meter, and so on and so forth. But I never wrote myself. Never. Till the age of almost 32, 31, 32. And that's why perhaps when I started writing poetry, it was nostalgic, but not predominantly romantic. Because when you start writing poetry in your teenage or early 20s, then you write romantic poetry. While I have written a lot of romantic songs, but my serious poetry, my literary poetry, has a very minuscule number of romantic poets.
So आप बता रहे थे one of your Kafi Saab favorite.
कैफी साहब का तो मैं आपको एक शेर सुनाता हूँ कि कोई तो सूद चुकाए, कोई तो ज़म्मा ले, उस इनकलाब का जो आज तक उधार सा है. तो ये इनकलाब, this was the dream of all these progressive writers who were not necessarily communists, but definitely...
Should we even dare to translate it, try to translate it? Who will pay back the principal and interest for a revolution which is
still due?
Which is still due, or which is still not realized.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot of diverse work.
Have I?
Tell us some favorites.
My own work. Please don't think that I'm trying to be very right. The fact is that whatever you have done, one can draw certain satisfaction and happiness that some of your work was appreciated and liked and people remember it. But if you are emotionally attached to that and you are unnecessarily proud of that, that is bad.
Who can forget Silsila?
Silsila was my first film as a songwriter.
Exactly, and probably the best still.
And again, you know, that is the story. I tried my best not to write.
ये कहाँ आ गए हम
I tried my best not to write this song.
देखा है ख्वाब तो ये
Yeah,
सिलसिले
yeah,
हुए.
yeah. That was my first song
Right.
ever. Dekha hai khwaab to ye silsile hue. One day Mr. Yash Chopra came to my house and he said that Tahir Saab is not doing my film for some reason and I want you to write the lyrics for me. Till that time I was not even a known poet because I was a kind of a closet poet. I would write poetry, never get it published except for once it was published in Dharm Yog.